Okay, now I'm going to add a new element to these waves. This is the same base I've been using, just this plain blue, just straight blue out of the can. And now I'm going to show you how to make it look like there's light in the water. And what happens as waves spike up, that high point ends up being brighter than the low parts of the water because that higher part is letting more light in. And so you have a brighter area on each wave. Now, when a blue substance is lit up from the inside or from behind, which is different than just something reflecting off of it. Specifically, when it's lit up from the inside out, it becomes greener as it becomes brighter. So I have this tint it's this brand Cal Tint, but it doesn't matter what the brand is. I just need some green pigment, and this is what I had laying around. I could also just use green paint, but I only need a tiny amount of it. So I just squirted some of that on this lid right here. This is not paint. This is pigment. All by itself, it won't dry hard. It'll just stay wet on the surface. Any part of my water that I want to be brighter, I need to also make it greener. And that's totally different than the reflection that is a separate stage of the painting. So one way to approach what I'm going to do is to put that bright color down first. So now it's the trough, it's the low part of the waves that's going to be dark. Those are the parts that aren't raising up above the rest of the water and getting brightened by the sunlight. Wider as it swoops down, I'm just painting the troughs now, which were my smile shapes. Here, let's do something different. Let's put one right there. Instead of making them perfectly staggered like I did before, I'll kind of put one in front of the other. This would be another trough way up in here. Now this I can be pretty sloppy with it, you know, it's just general placement of the colors. I'm not trying to be real exact and have all of the real pretty edges like I do when I paint the reflection on the top. Now I've got a smaller brush that I'm using. I've got it stuck in my water bucket here for the reflection. So my reflection color is just blue and white, and I'm going to try to avoid getting too much of my greens in this reflection color. Okay, then following those same rules, I'm going to make it the brightest on that downward swoop. And look how I have a template for where to put my bright reflection. It's a fun little pattern that's in these waves, that those darker areas happen to also be where the reflection is occurring. Again, I've got my brighter areas right here, and then I'm making it darker as I come down on this more level area. I might come back and put some real bright highlights on there, just like I did before. I know that this would be my brightest area of the wave. Right there. Maybe a little dot there. That's a good place for a highlight there too. Yeah, how about a couple more? Now I can also start with the dark color and add the light color to it. I'll do one like that also. So I put more of that reflection. And I can start using bigger strokes down here in the front. one method I use to make sure that my brighter areas are always on those downward swoops is just do them first when I have the most paint in my brush. You know, I have pure white in my brush right now, so rather than going on a level spot, I'll go on a downward swoop and then use the remainder of it to do the more level areas. And if I continue that pattern of doing those first, and that'll help me to maintain those downward swooping areas being brighter. See, I covered a lot of that area with that reflection color and it flattened it out. Makes it look like flatter water. So that can look good in a painting when you do something that breaks the norm of the picture. All of a sudden there's a flat area on the water, and the more I add those little unexpected things, the more natural and realistic it can feel. You know, as a wave is down here, I'm looking at it from a little more above the wave, so I see more of its three-dimensional shape, like a bird's eye view. So it's going to be rounder. I might have more closer to a 90-degree angle where they're crossing here. But as I'm looking up here, I'm not looking at it from above anymore. So they're going to get flatter and more stretched out. And that always makes the perspective look better if you consistently stretch out the shapes as you get further to the horizon. I think that is a very common problem with achieving natural looking perspective, is not stretching it out. That was a lot to put in to one picture. You know, that's a lot of elements to add in there. Let's say you're looking for the simple version, simple way to make waves. Well, I'll show you how to apply that exact same knowledge to a much more basic technique and really get a lot of bang for your buck, you know, on the amount of trouble that you put into the picture. The first thing I'm going to do is create a gradient. The closer areas need to be my dark, deep water. So I'm going to use this straight blue right here. And you know what? This will be fun. I want to prove to you that it is not the exact color that makes it look like water. It can be any color. So let's do something that is really unnatural for water. Let's just make part of this water really, really purple.